Let's talk about how to do page numbering and how to use master pages, as well as how to create a table of contents for your magazine in InDesign. So I've already gone ahead and done the data merge. So you can see here I've got all of the pages in here. I've deleted the ones that didn't work for whatever reason. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in 3 pages before the first spread, 1 for the front cover and 2 for the table of contents, and then I'll add 1 here at the bottom. I'll do that last, so I'm just going to click right here, add a page. Okay, so there's my back cover. Let's go up to the top. And in front of page 1, I'm going to right-click and insert pages. And I'm going to insert at the start of the document 3 pages, and notice that it's going to apply the A master by default here, so I'm going to click OK. And then I'm just going to move page 2 down here. So now I've got page 1, 2, 3. Here's table of contents. Okay, so let's do the page numbering. In order to do the page numbering, we need to come up to the master pages section up here. So I'm going to minimize this a little bit. If I double click on the master page right here, now I'm in master page mode. And down here at the bottom left, you can see A master. And so that's the master page that I'm on. I'm going to add page numbering by using the type tool. I'm just going to draw a box here. With the cursor in the box, I'm going to come up here to type, insert special character, markers, current page number, and that'll insert the current page number on the page. Right now we're in the master page, and so the current page is letter A, okay, because it's the A master. But as soon as we double click to go out, well, this is a right-hand page, and the page that I was on up here is a left-hand page, so you're only going to see that numbering on all the left-hand pages. So I'm going to go down here to page 2, and you'll see here it says page 2. And on page 3, it doesn't say anything, but on page 4, you're going to see that it is down here, but it's black, so it's going to be hard to see. Anyway, back up to the master pages up here. So now I'm going to add some extra things. So for example, I might add in the name of the magazine, The Legends of Design Craft. And then I'm going to position this underneath the margin. So again, on your 2-page spreads, you should make sure that all of your content is inside the margin for the most part. So that helps with the page numbering. Then I'm going to make a copy of this, Option, drag. I'm also holding Shift at the same time. I'm actually going to just cut this here. Oops. I didn't mean to cut the whole thing. Let's do it again. Option, drag over. Just wanted to cut the text here. There we go. And then I'm just going to position this on the right-hand side. And then I'm going to paste my text in again, add a tab. Let's see. Tab. And then here I'm going to put the name of the class and the semester. You can do whatever you want, really. That's what I'm going to do for this. And the box is a little bit big, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink this down a little bit, just so that the spacing here is about the same between the A and the text. There we go. Yeah, let's move this over a little bit. All right, something like that. So now my page numbering is done. At least in terms of the master page. So I'm going to come back out here, and on page 1, you're going to see that it actually has that on there. Now, I don't want the page numbering on the cover, so what I'm going to do is come up to the pages, the actual page numbers here, not the master page. You can right-click on a page, and I want to override the master page items on that page. Okay. The reason you need to do that is because right now I actually can't click on this stuff. In order to be able to click on it, I need to right-click, override the master page, and then I can just delete that. I'm going to do that on both of these. So I'm actually going to select both spreads at the same time by clicking on the numbering. Right-click, override the master page items, and then I'll just select both of these and delete them. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to go through one page at a time, and you're going to look at them, and you can say, oh, wow, I can't even see the page numbering at all on that page. So I'm going to right-click on that page, override it, the master page items, And the page numbering, I believe I forgot to, I had set up my layers here, but I believe I forgot to put my numbering up on this numbers layer. Okay, so first mistake I've ever made in my life, I'm going to go back up here to the A master, and I'm going to grab the page numbering here. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to open up the layers panel, click on the numbers layer way up here at the top, and I'm going to paste it in place. The shortcut for that is Command Option Shift V. It's going to paste everything in place on the top layer. So now when I come back over to pages and I click on page 4, this element should now be on top. Okay, so now I can select the type in there, and I'm going to come up to the character formatting and change the color of the type to white. Okay, and for some reason it's still not at the top. That's because I overrode it before changing the master page. So I'm going to cut that, put it up here on the numbers layer, Command Shift Option V, and there we go. So if I can hit W and see my preview, maybe a little close to the edge there. So I'm going to scooch it over here because I'm going to have to on this page. But I'm also going to go back up to the master pages and make that same adjustment so that that change is made on all of the pages. Let's move this one over too. All right, so back down to page 5. Here it's really hard to see, so I'm going to right-click on that. Override. Now since this one was on the master pages before I overrode it, I should be able to have that on the top layer. It should already be on the top layer, and I'll get rid of that. Okay, so you'll notice that on this particular spread, it looks like we have some bleed problems. So, you know, if you're the designer of this page, then you want to go back through and fix that. And you also, it looks like your title might be encroaching on the edge of the page. So there's some adjustments that might need to be made there. All right, so in number 6, that's very hard to read, so I'm going to override that one. Select that, and I'm going to make this one white. There we go. And then over here, this one, I'm just going to remove the page numbering altogether. So I'm going to override that and delete it. One thing to keep in mind when you're designing your spreads is that whenever you place elements in these bottom corners, you are going to be messing with the page numbering. So just always keep that in mind when you're designing a 2-page spread. Of course, maybe in your magazine, page numbering might be at the top. Anyway, you just need to be aware in your publication where that page numbering is going to happen. Okay, so that's pretty much all I'm going to do for this. There are probably going to be some other pages where the page numbering is going to need to be updated. Just kind of looking through here. Like over here, it's hard to read, so I would definitely probably remove the page numbering on that one. I would definitely remove that. There's some layout issues here. Looks like the bleeds didn't quite work, so we might need to reformat this page. But I'm not going to go through and critique everyone's 2-page spreads right now. Just take a look at your spread, make sure everything fits. Here the page numbering will need to be edited. This should probably be changed to white as well. So go through, look at your spread, and then go through everyone's spread, one spread at a time, after you've done your data merge and fix it. So this is a good example of needing to maybe move page numbering down or just readjusting your spread in order to create some space, some margin for the folio elements. The folio elements being the page numbering and the other information here down in this area. Okay, so now that we've got the page numbering done, what we want to do is create the table of contents up here on pages 2 and 3. So I'm going to start on page 4 here where we've included the names of the designers. Now you can't very well see it, so I'm going to come over here to layers. This is one good reason to keep your spreads on a separate layer. So then you can just turn the spreads off, and then you can just see the names on the names layer. So it makes this job just a little bit easier. So I'm going to select this, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a paragraph style for this that we're going to use in conjunction with our table of contents. So to do that, I like to come up to Essentials and switch over to Advanced. Because when you do that, you get all your different styles available to you right over here on the right-hand side. You could also alternatively come up to Window go to styles and open them up here and make note of the shortcuts. So for the paragraph styles, I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to create a new one, paragraph style 1, double click on it in order to edit it. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call this TOC for table of contents, since that's what I'm using it for. I'm going to come down to my basic character formats. Here I can choose my typeface. And keep in mind, this is going to be used for your table of contents. So go ahead and style it for whatever you're going to be using. So I'm going to maybe use Rockwell Bold. I'm going to make my type size 30 so I can hit preview here to take a look. That's what it's going to look like. If I want to change the tracking, maybe I feel like the spacing here is a little tight across these elements. I could increase it here. All right, so I could set any styles that I want. Also, I could set things like leading, etc. Advanced character formats, I'm not really worried about that. Indents and spacing, tabs. We could set something for this, but I think I'll leave this for later. That's all the styling I'm going to do basically for the basic character formats. So I'll click OK. All right, so now I'm all set on that page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to my Pages panel here, and I'm just going to jump down a page at a time. And we just open up my paragraph styles. I'm going to drag this out over here so I have quick access to it. Select the type, change the style. Let's also do that for the Pages panel. I'm just going to move that over here temporarily. So on page 8, page 10, Okay, so I'm just going to stop there rather than go and do all of them for now, because you just need to see how to do the table of contents. All right, so go ahead and close these out. And also maybe what I'll do is just reset advanced, just to get everything back to normal. All right, so to create the table of contents, I'm going to come up here to pages. Let's jump up to the table of contents pages, which is pages 2 to 3. Go ahead and hold down the space bar, center this. And what I'm going to do is go to Layout, Table of Contents. And I'm going to give my Table of Contents a title up here in the top section. Just call it Table of Contents, or just leave it as Contents, whatever you prefer. If you want to create a new style for the Table of Contents, you can do that here. The default is Table of Contents Title, but I'm just going to leave it here. Now here's the important section, styles in the table of contents. So you can add a style, and here's my table of contents style here, so I'm going to add that. And notice down here it selected it by default for my entries. So my entries are going to be determined by that style. So in other words, anything on these pages that is using the table of contents style will be considered an entry. This is how you get your entries into the table of contents. The other thing I want to do is I want to click the More Options button here so I can see some other things I can do to help set up my table of contents. So my entry style is the same style. The page number is going to be set after the entry. And if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to make a character style for my page numbering. Let's say I want to go in here and let's do, something. Let's maybe just also do Rockwell. We'll do Rockwell Bold, but let's maybe make it a little bit bigger, make our page numbers larger. Okay, so I could apply a separate style to that, a character style just to the page numbering. And then right here, by default, between this entry and the number, that in this case is going to come after the entry. You could also put your page numbering before the entry, but I'm going to leave it after entry. This is going to enter this caret T you can get this from the list here. Tab character is what that means. So if I actually click this, you'll see it puts another one in there. I only want one, so I'm just going to delete that. So you could put, you know, different things after or between the entry number. And the number itself. So I think that's all I'm going to do. If I was going to be doing a sort of ebook or something like that, I could have my program create PDF bookmarks. I'm not going to do that for this. So now I'm just going to click OK. It's going to create my table of contents for me, and then I'm going to just click and press Enter. All right, wow, I got lucky. Page numbers are kind of large. But as you can see, it only selected the ones that I had set up over here. So if I actually jump down to page 20 down here, over here on the Pages panel, you'll see that's Alexander Rodchenko. Then if I click on this one, Susan Kerr, doesn't show up in my table of contents because it didn't have the styling attached to it, so it didn't become an entry. Okay, so obviously in order for yours to become an entry, you're going to need to make sure you apply that style to all of your pages. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this element right here, these elements, and I want to get that tab that's already here. There's already a tab in place, but obviously that tab is different, and I want to even it up for everything. So to do that, I'm going to open up the tabs, which is Command-Shift-T. You could also find that under Type, Tabs right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a right justified tab here. I'm going to right justify this by clicking over on the right here. And that will put the tabs out, move those tabs over equally. I could then actually grab this tab and I can move it around if I want to reposition that. And I'm just going to leave it sort of out here, you know, within the margins. And then the other thing I could do is I could add a leader if I want. Here is an optional leader. So I could, a pretty typical convention is to put a period in there, which is going to make the period go all the way across. All right. You could also put other elements in there, maybe if you wanted to do a hyphen, okay, or a tilde, or whatever else you want in there. Actually, this typeface doesn't have one, apparently. I'm just going to leave it at the period right there, and that's it. So close that out, and that's my table of contents as it stands. So what I can do is add some extra design elements over here, or if I want to, I could place my table of contents over on this page, right? And if I wanted to, I could have my table of contents cross the gutter here, like that, maybe add some visual elements in here. It's up to you. You can design your table of contents any way you'd like. Let me change this. Obviously, I don't want my title of my table of contents to cross the gutter there, so I'm going to maybe change that up to the left-hand side. And then also, I could style this after the fact. Maybe I want this to be a little bigger, a little smaller. I think I'm going to go smaller here. All right. Just something like that. You don't actually have to have a title if you don't want, but I'm going to leave it at that. So that, in a nutshell, is how to do page numbering, how to set up titles. Oh, there's one other thing I didn't do is I didn't get rid of, or I didn't style these elements here. So one thing I didn't mention in class is one of the things that we can do with these names, rather than just set an object style on those and make them invisible, is we can actually just turn them off here. And just turn our spreads back on. That's even much easier than going through and doing object styles. I think just to be consistent, I'm going to show you how to do an object style for this. Let's unlock the names layer. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to create a new object style. And I'm going to call this hide or invisible or whatever you want. I'm going to come down here to transparency. And I'm going to turn the opacity down on that. And if I check preview, you'll see that it's going to hide that element. So just move my object styles over here. And once again, I can just go through one at a time on these different objects and hide them one at a time so that they don't show up, oops, in the design of the document. Okay, so again, silly me. It would have been obviously easier to just lock it down, turn it off right here. There was a reason why I did that earlier. I can't remember exactly why. It seemed to me that even though I had this off one time, that it still printed them for some reason. I think that's why I decided to go with the object styles, but maybe with some updates or something that has changed. But anyway, you should be able to just turn the layers off if you have them on a separate layer, and then when you export this out, let's find out. Let's go ahead and do a file export. I'm just going to include this in the data merge folder. Let's call this test. Adobe PDF print. Here, high quality print is fine. I'm going to go ahead and export everything out as, let's see, should I do spreads? No, I think I'm just going to do all pages. And I want to view the PDF after exporting, and then I'm going to not include the bleed settings for now because I don't want to see anything outside of the bleeds. So let's go ahead and export that. Then up here you can see there's a little indicator that tells you that it's gone to work. Here's our front cover. And notice that I forgot to remove the numbering on the front page. You'll want to do that. Here's our table of contents. And I think I might have put that on the wrong layer, thus I hit it. Page numbering is good. So I don't see any of the names here. Let's go down, because I did apply the object style to this, but let's go down and take a look at some of the later pages. And I think we're good to go. So yeah, I mean, easiest thing to do would just be put it on its own layer and turn those elements off. So it looks like whatever problems I had last time, or the last time I did this, are now gone. So we don't need to use the object style method. Just put your names on a separate layer. I think that's the best way to go. All right, so I think I turned off my, let's see, let's go up here to pages, go back up here, and layers. I think I must have put that on the names layer accidentally. So what I want to do is make sure that if I'm going to turn my names layer off, I want to place my table of content. Let's just cut this, come down here to the spread layer, Command-Shift-Option-V, and we'll paste Command-Shift-Option-V, and we'll paste it in place there. That way, when we hide this, we'll still have our table of contents. All right, so I think that covers all of the bases. If you have any questions or comments, send me an email, or what I highly recommend is just pause and rewind as many times as you need to review this.